Hey guys, Crypto Sunday, and it's a small green week, up 2.3%, about 8,000. So, yeah, it's been a little bit quiet, a reasonable amount of news going on, but yeah, market sort of still grinding along, I guess, waiting for the election, I suppose, and sort of later in October. Everyone's always sort of really excited about October, but often, sort of, if you look back, it looks like it does seem to come in the second half. I'm not really a believer too much in this sort of seasonality. September, sort of, everyone always says was a bad month, and that ended positive. So yeah, I just see where things go. Maybe people are waiting for the election, but yeah, let's have a look at some of the news. So this week's coin shares report, we're expecting a little red, nothing too much. Got 147 million in outflows. So as you can see, it's a small fry compared to what we've been having. This was largely in Bitcoin, 159 million, negative on Ethereum as well. But the multi-asset, as I keep going on about, 29 million inflow, even when things are red. This sort of does point to it just being regular weekly, monthly buyers, whatever it is. But yeah, good to see. Solana inflows as well when market is outflowing, 5.3 million. Outflow out of Binance, and then small inflows into Litecoin, short Bitcoin, obviously, XRP, Cardano, 2 million into other as well. Not sure sort of what these are. I think this is still Europe having like Avalanche ETFs and smaller ones like that. Country-wise as well, looks like net inflow outside of the US, which is pretty good. Small into Australia, Brazil back into positive, 43 million into Canada though, and 34 million into Switzerland, with some small outflows out of Hong Kong, Germany, and Sweden. But yeah, sort of net, 50 million inflow outside the US. So that's good to see. Looking on the more recent news, or the more recent flows for Ethereum, it's still sort of fairly stagnant. It did get a inflow into the BlackRock ETF, but yeah, there's still sort of outflows and days of absolutely zero all the way across, even Grayscale, even the new Grayscale. We had 2 days this week of complete tumbleweed across the board. So yeah, very, very quiet. On the Bitcoin side, we have seen a net inflow on Monday at least and Friday, with 3 outflow days in between, but it's net inflow. Looking at sort of 370 million. So yeah, not too bad. Sort of fairly distributed across. Monday was sort of fairly even. Quite a lot going into Fidelity. A little bit going into ARK on the Friday, and yeah, some of the sort of smaller ones as well. Not too much out of Grayscale. So yeah, overall a good week for inflows. We've had what initially sort of struck me as a bit shocking, but I suppose when you think about it, probably is good news. MtGox have pushed back their repayment deadline by 1 year. They were sort of saying everything had to be sorted, I believe, by the end of this month, and everyone had to have their coins back. Obviously, this is giving people coins back in kind, so they're not selling them first as FTX have. And yeah, they're now saying some people haven't sort of filled out the forms correctly. They've distributed, it looks like, about 2/3 of the coins, and the remaining third, they're going to give people another year to sort of go through filling out the forms and sorting their claims out. I mean, you are talking about, not like with FTX, sort of a couple of years to do this work. You are talking 11 years ago. So if people haven't sort of filled out their claims properly, you almost think, are they going to in another year? But yeah, they've been given another year, so it's effectively delaying potential sell pressure, until potentially the end of the bull market. So I guess that is quite positive news. Obviously, people have been saying, when a lot of the MtGox people got their coins back, a lot of them wouldn't be selling because they're forced long-term holders, and they would have sort of over that time seen the value of Bitcoin. But it can't be a net positive, basically. If none of them sell, then there's no sell pressure, but it can't be positive. So delaying that nearly $3 billion worth of Bitcoin until next year can only be good, I suppose. Unfortunate for those people, but yeah, maybe they'll get an even higher price being forced to hold until next year. I was sort of confusing this with when I first saw it with the FTX payout. I sort of immediately thought the FTX payout had been delayed, but yeah, we don't have this sell pressure, and we still have 16 billion in cash being paid out by the FTX estate within what is now sort of 8 weeks, and some of that, it's sort of been noted, has already been sort of bought by institutions, sort of paying people like 40 cents on the dollar back when people thought they weren't going to get any of their money back, and now obviously they're getting, it looks like 118p in the pound essentially, or cents on the dollar, and yeah, so those people have sort of done quite well. If you paid sort of 40 cents and you're now getting 118 cents, the thought is that they will just keep that money, and that isn't going to sort of get reinvested. But you'd expect a reasonable amount of people that did have crypto as sort of sole accounts, and they're getting that money back. They may sort of reinvest that, so you could get sort of a few billion, 5 billion, however much it is, being put back into crypto. So yeah, sort of a bit of a double whammy when I thought about it a bit more. MtGox getting pushed back, sell pressure sort of gone for a year, and FTX money still going in potentially this year. I think this sort of signifies how much effect the Ripple case against the SEC has had on the whole industry. Crypto.com got a Wells notice from the SEC, sort of basically saying we're thinking about suing you, and Crypto.com have sort of gone straight out on the offensive and said, well, if you're thinking about suing us, we're definitely going to sue you. They're sort of bringing a case for unlawfully expanding its jurisdiction, unauthorized overreach, and unlawful rulemaking. And they want to protect the future of crypto in the US. So, yeah, it's, companies with deep pockets that you'd sort of think the SEC, having already sort of lost a few cases now and been sort of swatted away by the courts, they're now going to appeal on the XRP case, even though it was sort of a fairly unanimous decision. Yeah, they're sort of having this one last gasp from the looks of it before the election. They've sort of brought quite a few cases, and you've also had the FBI it looks like they sort of created a meme coin, and sort of in a sting operation got a load of exchanges and market makers to sort of agree to pump and dump it. I don't know if they actually did, but sort of the agreement itself is, I guess, enough to charge them, and they've sort of been going after a load of market makers, and the SEC are sort of going after a load of companies. So a little bit aggressive, sort of so close to the election, whether they're sort of thinking, Gary Gensler maybe getting replaced, even if Kamala Harris wins. Sort of certainly if Trump wins, he said he's going to sack him on day one. We'll have to see. But yeah, sort of 3 weeks to go. They're going on this sort of big offensive. Obviously, these cases will be months and months away, similar to the Ripple case. So yeah, either way, whoever's coming in may consider to just drop this case. But interesting. We had the amazing HBO documentary everyone was sort of talking about, where Peter Todd was sort of claimed by them as the creator of Bitcoin, Satoshi Nakamoto. There was sort of some fairly tenuous links to sort of Bitcoin forum posts, and yeah, sort of a lot of people have sort of since said if they really had uncovered Satoshi, would it sort of have gone through a long documentary and sort of 3 months of editing and not being leaked if sort of this Peter Todd, he's obviously alive. There were sort of two or three people on the list, Len Sassaman, that people were looking at. Two or three people on the list were already dead. Peter Todd is alive, and if he holds sort of a Bitcoin wallet with $62 billion in, then you would sort of think something would have happened before. He would have maybe tried to sort of cash out, of sort of various other reasons that I think most people aren't believing this. He's 39 years old today, so he would have been 23 when the Bitcoin white paper was written, and sort of, 21, 22 when it was sort of being developed, I guess, which is very, very young for sort of such a seemingly flawless white paper. Whether it was sort of collaborations with other people, you don't know, but yeah, certainly even in the documentary it looks like he did say, or not in the documentary, but very, very soon after, he sort of come out to lots of people and said he is not Satoshi. The people that sort of believe he is, I guess, will say he would say that, but yeah, this seemed to have sort of passed without incident. People thought they had some real evidence, and it's just, yeah, tenuous links and speculation. So, yeah, HBO, just entertainment, basically. I love this previous theories as well. They found a man a Japanese American man living in California named Dorian Nakamoto. It seemed like it was purely because of his name. He denied it, and claims have been debunked. Then you had Craig Wright in 2015. He came out and said that he was, and showed apparent proof, although he can't sign the keys of the wallet. So yeah, he's been sort of since through the ringer in court over the last sort of 7-8 years, and has been declared not Satoshi. And obviously the wallet still hasn't been signed or anything, so he can't prove that. But yeah, this is just all nonsense, really. It looks like short-term holders are sort of getting impatient, selling. It looks like some people are selling at a loss. If you look at the sort of on-chain data, you had in the last 24 hours, 24,000 Bitcoin was sold at a loss, because you can look at the sort of previous price that they transacted at. And yeah, they've been sort of transferring to whales. 1.5 million Bitcoin has moved to long-term holder wallets over the past 6 months, since the March top, basically. I do think this sort of data will have been skewed and is probably a little bit less useful now with the ETFs, but the sort of majority of the ETF flows were sort of in the January to March period. So if 1.5 million Bitcoin has gone into those wallets since then it's not inflows into the ETFs, and you would think it's not those exchange wallets, unless they're sort of shuffling them about, basically, which I guess they shouldn't be doing. Obviously, you have some going into MicroStrategy, which presumably is included in this data. But yeah, I think, broadly you could say some of this is maybe not correct, but it probably does show a trend. Short-term holders getting a little bit impatient, expecting sort of 100k, 200k, within a few months. Similar to sort of meme coins and altcoins and stuff, and just need to have a little bit more patience. But yeah, it's accumulation by the whales. And I suppose we have to keep talking about MicroStrategy. He sort of said he wants to build it up to a $1 trillion company. He wants to sort of build a Bitcoin bank and all sorts of stuff. Seems a little bit strange. I don't know how he's ever going to do that without any cash flow. If he's going to start selling Bitcoin to sort of fund some of this stuff in the future, once they've sort of accumulated lots and lots, or whether he would sell debt and not, or issue debt and not buy the Bitcoin with it, maybe sort of use it to set up some other interesting things. But he's sort of basically saying he thinks there is limitless room to issue debt to buy Bitcoin, or convertible debt. So it's dilution basically. And yeah, MicroStrategy has been outperforming sort of everything, outperforming the miners, outperforming Bitcoin. And you now have 37 billion. I think it went above this, sort of into the 40s. $40 billion market cap based on $15 billion worth of Bitcoin. So it's pushing closer to 3 times the value of their Bitcoin, which does seem a little bit crazy. Although I wouldn't be shorting the stock, obviously. You had Kerrisdale Capital issue a short report, and it did sort of basically look like they were this strategy of long Bitcoin, short MicroStrategy. So essentially, they're not betting on Bitcoin price going up or down. They're betting on sort of the premium basically on MicroStrategy coming down. So if Bitcoin went up, they're expecting MicroStrategy to go up not as much, and they should make money that way, but that doesn't appear to be working. So the fact that they're short MicroStrategy, I think they're saying you have 15% of outstanding shares of MicroStrategy short at the moment. So you can get these sort of short squeezes, and that strategy doesn't always work. They did say none of the reasons commonly provided for MicroStrategy's relative attractiveness justify paying well over double for the same coin, which I do agree with, but yeah, I wouldn't be shorting MicroStrategy. They say basic common sense suggests that the current inflated premium will contract, much as it has on prior occasions, providing a compelling opportunity for a pair trade. And I would say sometimes the crypto industry doesn't have basic common sense. So you're sort of betting against a dangerous trend. I think everyone thought as well, but once we got the ETFs, that essentially this would sort of contract as well. People were presumably betting on, or investing in MicroStrategy because they didn't have access to Bitcoin in a traditional brokerage account, and MicroStrategy was sort of playing its role as a sort of proxy ETF with no expense ratio. And then obviously you've had BlackRock and Fidelity ETFs amongst others coming out, and people can now quite easily buy Bitcoin exposure with a small expense ratio. So yeah, you kind of thought the premium would contract, but people see their sort of unlimited convertible debt issuance and acquiring a hell of a lot of Bitcoin as valuable. So yeah, the premiums increased, but yeah, how much longer can it go on? So coming back to coins for the week, as I say, it's been fairly quiet. Bitcoin is up 2%, nothing too much. Solana up 3%. Ethereum up 2.6, so they're all in sort of fairly close range. Chainlink is down 2.5%. XRP up 1.5%. Power Ledger up 5.5%, doing quite well. Gala is the outperformer for the week, though, 11.3% up. Sort of somewhat considering taking, well, I wouldn't say taking profit, I would just sell the whole lot, but maybe swapping that into helium, being sort of down a fair bit, although the sort of user metrics on Gala Games do look like they've ticked up in the last sort of couple of weeks, so I guess the gain is somewhat justified. I'd more be sort of thinking about selling Quant. I mean, that's down 4.3% for the week. It's not done particularly well, but I was sort of hoping for a little spike to maybe sell that off. Audius up 5%. Internet Computer down 2.3. Basic Attention Token up 3. Matic down 1.3. VeChain down 0.3, and Helium is down 8.6%. So they have been on a hell of a run recently. It was at sort of looks like $2-3 not so long ago, and it's now sort of $7 or $6.50. So yeah, it's up a hell of a lot, but the users are sort of up a hell of a lot, and it looks like a compelling product versus mobile contracts that people have in the US, and they are expanding to Europe and sort of elsewhere. It looks like the model is replicatable elsewhere. So yeah, we'll see. Still keeping an eye on helium, sort of having a read through the Misari report again, and sort of looking for a spot to maybe swap. But yeah, we'll have to see. So leave your thoughts in comments below, and like and subscribe. See you soon.